Brian Yamamoto. This is the minute. Police arresting 13 pro-Palestinian protesters at Stanford this morning. The university says they broke into the president's office and barricaded themselves inside. The protesters say the university has refused to negotiate with advocates over the Israel-Hamas war. Dueling fundraisers in the Bay Area this week. Vice President Kamala Harris attending events in Oakland and San Francisco today and then tomorrow. Former president and recently convicted felon Donald Trump will be in town. He will attend an election fundraiser hosted by tech billionaires. And a new era of Oakland baseball is officially in full swing. The Ballers kicking off their inaugural home game at Raimondi Park last night in front of a sold-out crowd. They will be looking for their first home win tonight after losing 9-3 to the YOLO High Wheelers. First pitch is at 6:35. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8 and 9 p.m. on the all-new Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
It is a first alert weather day here in the Bay Area as we are gearing up for more heat, especially off in our inland areas. Now, it's not a record-breaking day, but boy, are we getting close in certain communities off into the East Bay, like Livermore, for example, topping off at 100 degrees as we head into this afternoon. Now, we're not even close to breaking records in areas like San Francisco and Oakland, but it is still a warm day for us on this first alert weather day. And taking a look at our whole region throughout the Southwest, lots of California today is dealing with triple digits. We're getting up to 122 degrees this afternoon, all the way over into Death Valley. Now, that's not the case for us off into the East Bay, but boy, does it still feel like it. Lots of warmth expected for us anywhere from Oakland all the way up into Vallejo with 90s and 80s in the forecast there. We have 90s up into the North Bay. Look at the contrast all the way from Half Moon Bay sitting at 62 degrees this afternoon, all the way over into the East Bay with more triple digits down into Livermore. And as we make our way down into the Santa Clara Valley, we have 90s this afternoon near San Jose and Los Gatos. It is a warm day for us today. Wear lots of sunscreen and drink plenty of water as we head into this afternoon, and continue to check in on your loved ones too. Luckily, we have a big cool down as early as tomorrow. These triple digits we have all the way off into the East Bay and the South Bay, they're going to turn into 80s tomorrow afternoon with still plenty of sunshine in sight for us. And then we talk about low 80s as we dive into our weekend forecast. That's what we're used to during this time of year, not these warm triple digits and upper 90s in the forecast. Now, as we head over to the Bay, a similar trend's expected for us. We cool down fast from the 80s all the way down into the 60s by tomorrow with cloudy skies rolling back in. That's that June gloom that's right around the corner for us, and it's going to linger into our Saturday forecast with sunnier skies and a bit of a warm up as we head into next week.
Well, as we deal with another day of the extreme heat, the conditions don't make things any easier for fire crews. Our Wilson Walker asked the experts what we should expect this fire season.
What is the cure time of the grasses? When will they be susceptible to ignition? So that's something that all the agencies and even the utilities and the research community are watching right now.
Watching the Bay Area hills turn from a faded green to a light brown, Craig Clements, director of the Wildfire Research Center at San Jose State, he says the past few days have been a reminder that even a good winter has legs when it comes to keeping fire risk down.
The Corral fires was a big fire, but it was a grass fire. And grass fires are very common this time of year. It's the first type of fires that we really get.
We call it a light flashy fuel. That grass just burns so readily.
Grasses are usually cured by early June, so fires are now likely. So the next question becomes the larger fuel that is often ignited by a grass fire.
So these are live fuel, what we call live fuels, living plants. Those living plants have a lot of soil moisture right now because of the wet winter, so they're doing okay in terms of their fuel moisture content, the amount of water inside the plant. But as we approach fall, those plants become critically dry, and if it's a wet winter or a dry winter, those plants are still going to respond similarly in the late summer, early fall.
So the two healthy winters do continue to pay dividends because of the moisture. The current outlook for large fires is considered below normal this year. However,
that could change if we have extended heat waves, severe heat waves, and that causes further drying, faster drying of the fuels.
So the payoff from the rain is variable depending on what the fall and summer deliver. The hope is that another year of good moisture translates to another year of fewer larger fires.
So hopefully it stays like that. Hopefully we can remain, not in a lot of big fires.
Meanwhile, firefighters still working to put out 2 fires that broke out this past week. That's the Corral Fire in the San Joaquin County that burned more than 14,000 acres. And then a fire near Patterson Pass Road in Alameda County burned less than 100 acres. Both are more than 90% contained. Stay with us for continuing coverage of our wildfires and the heat wave. You can find information on cooling centers on kpix.com.
Call it a rebirth. Call it a revival. These are the Ballers, a new pro baseball team built by Oakland. All right, Ballers, let's go. Built for Oakland.
Well, the Oakland Ballers will be back in action tonight for their second home game. First pitch is at 6:35 against the YOLO High Wheelers. Well, last night, the band and the fans filled the stands at Raimondi Park for the Ballers' inaugural home opener. That's a sold-out crowd of 4,200 gathered in West Oakland. The game kicked off with Bay Area rap legend Mr. Fab, but instead of throwing out the first pitch, well, he took a swing for the first hit. But the YOLO High Wheelers playing spoiler, getting hot from the start. The Ballers falling 9-3, but despite that loss, the game brought the community together. And as our Reed Cowan and Max Darrow shows us from our VR set.
So many people who weren't even necessarily baseball fans or just people who take pride in being from Oakland and really the Bay Area are excited to be there in the stands.
Oakland has a heartbeat, right?
Yeah. One of the people who was in the stands last night was our very own Kelsey Thorid. She was there at the Ballers game, and fans there told her that this was a special experience. Watch.
Leonard Rossi was just 13 years old when he went to his first Oakland A's game.
I went to the very first game in 1968 with my mom and dad, sat in the third level of the Coliseum and had a wonderful time.
Since then, Leonard has gone to hundreds of A's games. So when the team announced they were officially leaving, it was a big blow.
It really hurts to see them leave.
But thankfully for Leonard, another team swooped into town just in time. The Oakland Bees.
Let's go, Ballers!
The name was hilarious. I mean, the A team to the B team, right? The Ballers, very exciting.
Let's go, Bees!
Leonard says the Bees may be a smaller team than the A's. But for Oakland baseball fans like himself, they've become way more important.
I think they've already done more in terms of building up Oakland than the A's did in whatever how many years they were here. So looking for a good time.
The Bees kicked off their season in front of a sold-out crowd. The energy inside the stadium was palpable. Leonard told us this may be his first Bees game, but like his first A's game all those years ago, it's definitely not going to be his last.
Those of us here in the East Bay, especially if you're an Oakland native, come on down. It's got a good product here and you'll have a good time.
Ballers didn't quite draw the A's crowd, but it was pretty close. But just watching that moment there, listening to the chants, "Let's go Ballers," I bet you it felt so much more crowded at the Ballers game, even with fewer people than a game at the Coliseum, because it's been empty for so long.
Right, and when we have talked about the A's leaving Oakland, you always hear a similar story. I remember my first game with my dad, my grandpa, my mom, my dad. These are family stories that are woven in through sports, and what's so amazing is you saw last night, and you're going to see again tonight, and all until August, you're seeing family stories have their beginnings now with the Ballers. I love that. That's what community looks like.
Well, a lot of characters about the Ballers home opener. Julie Goodrich talked to Hal, the hot dog guy, who was a vendor at the Coliseum.
Tell me, how the heck do you think this all came about, and how do you feel about it?
It came about because Oakland deserves it, Oakland is a great sports community. It has amazing fans. I've vended all across the country. My favorite fans are here. And, they deserve a team, and they deserve a place to chant, "Let's go Oakland." So, of course, this was going to come around.
So you got your PhD from Berkeley. You were working, Hal the hot dog guy comes with credentials, too, big time. And then also, you moved back east, but you're here specifically for this opening week, right?
That's right. I wouldn't miss this for the world. We got Doc Bustard. We got
oh God! Oh my God! I'm sorry.
We got the fake. We got the fake ketchup. We got everything.
Well, if you can't make it out to Raimondi Park this week, you can watch Friday's home game against the Yellow High Wheelers on our sister station, Pix Plus 44 Cable 12, beginning at 6:30 p.m. And we'll be bringing you all the Friday night home games through the end of August. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, buildings sitting empty in the South Bay for years. New plan to clean up blighted buildings that are hurting local businesses. Plus,
I'm here in the Mission where permitted street vendors are reacting to new proposed legislations to fight illegal street vending. More details coming up.
And students who are making a difference in the lives of first responders see how they were able to think outside the box.
Coolest microclimate today is in the valleys of the North Bay, where the fog is still hanging on. This environment lets us take our viewers inside the weather. Microclimates, the fog, the rain, we can explain in 3 dimensions and show you what's going to happen. The offshore wind on our real-time map showing that east to west movement. The way everyone else is doing weather on television is like riding on horseback. This is space travel.
Virtual weather on KPIX. You've just got to see it.
It is a hot day for us today off in our inland areas with triple digits in 90s, anywhere from Fremont all the way up into Antioch. Napa today topping off at 92 degrees. However, we're sitting in the 60s and 70s today along the coast near Half Moon Bay, Pacifica, all the way up into San Francisco. So all of our microclimates are dealing with this heat wave just a little bit differently. If you have the opportunity to head out to the coast today, this is the day to do it. Still wear plenty of sunscreen no matter where you live, though. Those UV rays are strong in the afternoon hours. Match that with this heat. You're going to want to try to find some shady spots as we head into this afternoon, especially off in our inland areas. But here's the good news. These triple digits get replaced with 80s right around the corner, and we see cooler conditions heading into this weekend.
Well, San Jose police are looking for 3 suspects who robbed a marijuana dispensary at gunpoint on Valentine's Day. These are surveillance photos from the robbery on Charter Park Drive. Police say around 4:30 a.m., 3 suspects broke into the pot shop while a 4th stayed outside. While they were driving away, the driver fired a shot at the security guard who tried to stop them. Police arrested 1 suspect last week. They say they found a stolen gun, ammo, and multiple license plates from stolen cars. Also in San Jose, a new push is underway to address blight. Some city leaders believe empty and abandoned buildings are dragging down their communities. Our Len Ramirez shows us how they are hoping to fix that problem.
Well, the building behind me could be the poster child for blighted buildings in San Jose. It's been that way for decades, and now as the number of blighted buildings begins to pile up in San Jose post-COVID, members of the city council are wondering if there's something the city can do to put added pressure on the property owners to clean the buildings up.
The boarded-up First Church of Christ Scientist is one. The burned-out Lawrence Hotel building is another. And there's a row of empty and graffiti-painted storefronts on El Paseo de San Antonio. It's a difficult business environment here, but this flower shop is still somehow surviving.
When the students are not here, it's absolutely deserted.
Layla Notterjaw has owned Rosies and Posies on the same spot for 25 years.
I'm hoping that most of these Paseo businesses will open up, and we will have some neighborhoods in here, so we feel safer to have place that people actually want to come to downtown and enjoy.
And that's the idea behind a new push by downtown council member Omar Torres.
I'm walking by an eyesore, unfortunately. This building has been blighted and abandoned for 3 years, and so if we truly want folks to invest in the city of San Jose, they shouldn't be seeing this.
Torres is leading an effort to bring an anti-blight measure before the city that would hold property owners accountable for keeping buildings in unmaintained or even unsafe condition.
We have the fines, but they're not enough. And so that's why, again, we're calling for this study session, because if we need to, one, increase the fines and fine property owners, we need to do that.
Besides the blight, Torres says his office has received complaints about the safety of the building. It's been exposed since a fire in 2021, and the sidewalk has been fenced off in front of it, forcing pedestrians like Abrea Buster to walk around it on the street.
I mean, look at the roof up there. That's where it burned down. It's like that. That happened like what, 2 or 3 years ago?
3 years.
So I don't know. It's like, look at it. It's ugly.
The business owners that own these properties to actually take a pride in their properties and take care of it, so it makes the downtown more desirable.
Layla says if property owners did that, it would be better business for everyone.
And San Jose council members will hold a study session on blight with the goal of putting an ordinance on the council agenda later this year. Well, the Alameda City Council unanimously voted not to allow researchers aboard the USS Hornet to conduct a controversial climate experiment. That experiment was a device that sprayed tiny sea salt particles into low marine clouds. The goal, to brighten the clouds and temporarily cool the planet. After a long meeting, city leaders said the researchers from the University of Washington did not give the city enough transparency about the overall environmental impact of the project. They also said it does not address the root problem of climate change.
Let's not take humans off the hook. Let's not suggest that we have this magic pill. We can just take this and we'll just keep polluting and doing what we're doing, and all of our climate woes will go away. They won't.
And one of the key moments of that meeting, the mayor said she only found out about the particulars of the experiment by reading the New York Times, and that no one from the research group reached out to them. Still ahead, a new crackdown in San Francisco on the sale of stolen goods. We'll take a look at the new bill now on the table and why one local city leader wants to go a step further.
Now you can get your KPIX news, weather, and live stream all in one place on the CBS News app. Download it free today. This is Pix Plus. More of what you want, more often. More local news in the morning and the primetime edition. The only 8 and 9 p.m. news. With Devin Feely, Elizabeth Cook, Juliette Goodrich, and Sarah Dachi. Groundbreaking original storytelling from the KPIX newsroom. Plus Bear Politics, Project Earth, and weather like you've never seen. The primetime edition. Weeknights on the new Pix Plus. 44 Cable 12.
A heat advisory is in effect until Thursday, and we all know the reason why. Our daytime highs today are hitting the 90s and triple digits once again all throughout our inland East Bay, up into the North Bay, and for our friends in the Solano County area, we're under a heat warning until Thursday. That's grouped with the Sacramento Valley with some of the warmest temperatures we've seen so far this year. Now, as we head over to our virtual reality map, look at the contrast of these temperatures. We're still holding on tight to 70s and 60s, anywhere from Half Moon Bay all the way over into San Francisco, but that's not the case as we head off into the East Bay. Triple digits expected for us this afternoon near Concord, Antioch, stretching all the way down into Livermore too, with 90s this afternoon near the Santa Clara Valley. Now, we talk about these numbers because it's important to remind yourself and your loved ones to drink lots of water and wear plenty of sunscreen on a day like today, especially if we have loved ones who work outside. It is going to be a hot day for us today. If you do work outside, find that shady spot, especially in the afternoon hours while those UV rays are at their strongest. Now, we're sitting in the triple digits today for many of us off into the East Bay, but look at tomorrow, all the way down into the 80s, right around the corner, and we hold on tight to the 80s as we head into next week with partly cloudy skies in the forecast as early as Monday.
Well, now to the latest battle over street vendors in San Francisco. It said a bill in the state legislature would allow police to issue citations to vendors who sell commonly stolen goods without a permit. That proposal has the backing of Mayor London Breed, but one of the candidates for this year's mayoral election wants to take things one step further. Supervisor Asha Safai is proposing a crackdown to let public works inspectors remove items from vendors who have been given a warning for operating illegally. This all comes as a ban on street vending in the Mission District stretches past the 6-month mark. Our Jose Martinez caught up with those vendors.
I'm here in the Mission where permitted street vendors are reacting to new proposed legislations to fight illegal street vending in San Francisco. They tell me they finally feel heard by the city.
Rodrigo Lopez has been a street vendor on Mission Street since 2019. Now, as the president of the Mission Street Vendors Association, he's leading a movement that's gaining traction.
It's very excited. Like I say, 7 months ago, there was only a few vendors, and no one recognized anything, no vendors at all. Right now, everybody recognizes this move, and we feel like we are part of the city. We feel like we are part of the community because we have a voice.
Lopez says the shift is largely due to a change in the language used in new legislation clarifying the association's role in representing permitted street vendors. These legislative changes are designed to combat illegal street vending, not just in the Mission, but across San Francisco.
We feel like they give us a respect and recognize our job.
State Senator Scott Wiener, who represents San Francisco, said Senate Bill 925 would allow the police to issue citations to street vendors selling commonly stolen goods without a permit. Another key legislative change was introduced by Supervisor Asha Safai, who says the warning process hasn't worked out.
What we were doing, which was being exploited, was that warning process kept repeating itself over and over and over again.
Supervisor Safai tells me this legislation will be voted on next Monday, and then it's expected to go to the full board. So within the next month, this should be finalized, opening up the opportunity to start training inspectors on how to address these changes.
We want to be able to distinguish, and we want to give the right tools to the inspectors so they can really target the illegally fenced stolen items that are out there.
With these new laws, Rodrigo tells me he hopes to see improvements for those permitted street vendors as well.
Well, definitely it's a step in the right directions. Everybody is happy because we feel like the city finally gave us something a tool to work with, and everyone is very excited to see what happened on the next 3-4 months.
And Rodrigo tells me the plan now is to analyze these legislations with the members of the association ahead of changes in the upcoming months.
Jose says they plan to analyze the legislation along with members of the association ahead of the changes in the upcoming months. Coming up our next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, as the Oakland Ballers kick off the inaugural season, we're going to hear from the founders about how they turned their dream into reality. Plus, he's a part of Oakland baseball history, but who exactly was Ernie Raimondi?
He was so loved by his family that whenever I would ask questions, they'd cry.
We'll introduce you to the family behind the sports legacy. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is the Minute. Police have arrested 13 pro-Palestinian demonstrators at Stanford today. The university says they broke into the president's office and barricaded themselves inside. Protesters say the university has refused to negotiate with advocates over the Israel-Hamas war. Vice President Kamala Harris is in the Bay today holding political fundraising events in Oakland and San Francisco as she and President Biden battle for re-election. And then tomorrow, former President Trump will be in town to attend a fundraiser hosted by tech billionaires. San Francisco Mayor London Breed announcing a plan to revitalize downtown, specifically Union Square and the Yerba Buena Center that is near the Moscone Center. The plan includes expanding the city's Vacant to Vibrant program, lowering parking fees, increased security, and more public events. Mayor Breed, of course, is running for re-election. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is The Minute.
It is a first alert weather day here in the Bay Area as we are gearing up for more heat, especially off in our inland areas. Now, it's not a record-breaking day, but boy, are we getting close in certain communities off into the East Bay, like Livermore, for example, topping off at 100 degrees as we head into this afternoon. Now, we're not even close to breaking records in areas like San Francisco and Oakland, but it is still a warm day for us on this first alert weather day. And taking a look at our whole region throughout the Southwest, lots of California today is dealing with triple digits. We're getting up to 122 degrees this afternoon, all the way over into Death Valley. Now, that's not the case for us off into the East Bay, but boy, does it still feel like it. Lots of warmth expected for us anywhere from Oakland all the way up into Vallejo, with 90s and 80s in the forecast there. We have 90s up into the North Bay. Look at the contrast all the way from Half Moon Bay, sitting at 62 degrees this afternoon, all the way over into the East Bay with more triple digits down into Livermore. And as we make our way down into the Santa Clara Valley, we have 90s this afternoon near San Jose and Los Gatos. It is a warm day for us today. Wear lots of sunscreen and drink plenty of water as we head into this afternoon, and continue to check in on your loved ones too. Luckily, we have a big cool down as early as tomorrow. These triple digits we have all the way off into the East Bay and the South Bay, they're going to turn into 80s tomorrow afternoon with still plenty of sunshine in sight for us. And then we talk about low 80s as we dive into our weekend forecast. That's what we're used to during this time of year, not these warm triple digits and upper 90s in the forecast. Now, as we head over to the Bay, a similar trend trends expected for us. We cool down fast from the 80s all the way down into the 60s by tomorrow, with cloudy skies rolling back in. That's that June gloom that's right around the corner for us, and it's going to linger into our Saturday forecast with sunnier skies and a bit of a warm up as we head into next week.
Well, it's important to protect yourself from the high temperatures, but some people in Livermore have different opinions on beating the heat.
So when you saw that we were going to have the first heat wave of the year, you were like, I need to go outside?
Thank you, Jesus. So I never wear sunglasses and I never use sunscreen. I got burned once in southern Florida in the Keys. Man, that hurt.
Even if it's 60 outside, I still have to protect against the sun. The heat allows you to appreciate the cool.
Well, first responders are reminding all of us, of course, you should put on your sunscreen and wear your sunglasses if you'll be out in the sun. Otherwise, you're going to get crispity crunchy.
Call it a rebirth. Call it a revival. These are the Ballers, a new pro baseball team. Built by Oakland.
All right, Ballers, let's go.
Built for Oakland.
Well, it's another day of Ballers baseball at Raimondi Park. Oakland's newest team returns to the field tonight after the inaugural home opener last night. And the team has come a long way since their journey started almost a year ago. Our Itai Had has the pitch-perfect story of how the team came to be.
Ever since they were little kids, Paul Friedman and Brian Carmel have always thought of themselves as a winning team.
What's up?
But these days, they're focused on owning a winning team.
I think we're both guys that probably have a pretty fair amount of chutzpah.
A year after the Oakland A's threw fans a major curveball by skipping town, these two best friends decided to swing for the fences.
We just thought, well, why don't we do something about it? Let's start a new baseball team, because this can't be the end of baseball in Oakland.
And so the Ballers were born, a team they hope will become the next big chapter in Oakland baseball history.
When we first came up with the idea, we told some of our friends, and you know,
They laughed at us.
They laughed. We got some laughs.
It all started in high school when Paul, a baseball fanatic, moved to Oakland from Chicago not knowing a single soul. But it was during those games watching the A's that he met Brian, and the two hit it off.
It's amazing the connections that you make through sports, through baseball, like you keep them for life.
Affectionately called the Bees, the Ballers are in a whole other league, literally. They'll be playing ball in the Independent Pioneer League, an MLB partner based in the Mountain West. And since the league requires an even number of teams,
you ready?
Paul and Brian also created the YOLO High Wheelers based in Davis, California. But if you think owning two teams is all fun and games, wait until they play each other.
I think both teams really want to win.
We met Paul and Brian at UC Davis as the Ballers and High Wheelers played a friendly matchup.
Who are you rooting for?
Can't ask us that. They say both teams will eventually be open to fan ownership. Until then, all eyes will be on the inaugural game, when the Ballers and High Wheelers face off, this time for real.
It's probably going to be hard for Brian and I to keep it together. I know it's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard. Paul cries a lot.
Now, they hope their teams step up to the plate and hit it out of the park.
Well, last night's inaugural home game was the first pro game at the field in more than 100 years. And Raimondi Park is named after former minor league player Ernie Raimondi. And as our John Ramos introduces us to the park's namesake.
When the Oakland Ballers chose Raimondi Park to be their home field, they wanted their brand new team to benefit from the roots of the past.
Raimondi Park is one of the most historical municipal parks in the world. It's got a deep history, and the more that we've learned about it, the more rich that history is.
Created in 1911 as West Oakland Park, it was later renamed as Bayview Park. But in 1947, it got the name it enjoys today, Raimondi Park, named for Ernie Raimondi, a local ball player who was killed in action in France during World War II.
This is when they dedicated the park. And this is me being 2 years old, because they did it in 1947.
Penny Isola was only 9 months old when Ernie died, and aside from a scrapbook of old newspaper clippings, she still doesn't know a whole lot about her dad.
He was so loved by his family that whenever I would ask questions, they'd cry, you know? So you tended not to ask. Do you know what I mean? It would have been nice to have had a dad, you know? Especially one that was so loved, you know, by everybody in the family.
But apparently baseball thought pretty highly of Ernie too, with the San Francisco Seals Club drafting him at the age of 16 while still a junior at McClymonds High School. The move was very controversial as the newspapers accused the team of cradle snatching. Ernie played third base for the Seals alongside Dom DiMaggio, younger brother of Yankee slugger Joe DiMaggio. Back then, the Seals were part of the highly regarded Pacific Coast League.
And the Coast League was really big in the West Coast. It was, at one point, it was considered a third major league. And he played games actually while he was still in high school at Seal Stadium, and I think he got a hit in his first game, a double or something.
Bill Raimondi is the son of Ernie's older brother, Billy, who played 22 years of pro ball, mostly with the Oakland Oaks, rivals of the Seals. In fact, of the 6 boys in the Raimondi family, 4 ended up playing some form of professional baseball, all of them getting their start at the field at Raimondi Park.
Yeah, they all went to McClymonds High School, and they were all well known in Oakland.
All of them used to play there. You know, you go and play baseball, you know, just when you're a kid. So they all went there, all of the boys, all the brothers.
So when Ernie paid the ultimate sacrifice of war, the park was renamed for him. But really, it's an honor the entire family gets to share.
It's very meaningful to have a park in Oakland named Raimondi, you know.
Especially one with a baseball diamond.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it is.
Penny agrees, and though she never really knew her father, she has slept with a picture of him next to her bed nearly every day of her life, connected to him for 80 years by the love of a game.
I don't know, just the history of my family being involved in baseball is so special, you know. It's in our blood. We love baseball, so I'm hoping that the Ballers, you know, remain there and that they get the crowds. We need baseball in Oakland.
Outside the new stadium is a tribute to local baseball heroes, including one whose season ended far too early.
And again, if you can't make it out to Raimondi Park this week, you can watch Friday's home game against the Yolo High Wheelers on our sister station, Hicks Plus 44 Cable 12, beginning at 6:30 p.m. We will bring you all the Friday night home games through the end of August. And up next, meet the Bay Area students whose breakthrough invention could help firefighters on the front lines, and the teacher who inspired them to think outside the box.
We want them to form a bond in the community. We want them to start inventing for things that matter.
These are your neighborhoods. This is your world. CBS News Bay Area.
And still ahead on KPI.
With Juliette Goodrich. And the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell. Taking you to the day's top stories. Smart, comprehensive coverage. And immersive weather like you have never seen it. Join Juliette Goodrich and Nora O'Donnell. Weeknights 6 to 7:30 on KPIX.
It is a hot day for us today off in our inland areas with triple digits in 90s, anywhere from Fremont all the way up in Antioch. Napa today topping off at 92 degrees. However, we're sitting in the 60s and 70s today along the coast near Half Moon Bay, Pacifica, all the way up into San Francisco. So all of our microclimates are dealing with this heat wave just a little bit differently. If you have the opportunity to head out to the coast today, this is the day to do it. Still wear plenty of sunscreen no matter where you live, though. Those UV rays are strong in the afternoon hours. Match that with this heat. You're going to want to try to find some shady spots as we head into this afternoon, especially off in our inland areas. But here's the good news. These triple digits get replaced with 80s right around the corner, and we see cooler conditions heading into this weekend.
Well, even during a hot day like today, firefighters put their bodies on the line in the most extreme conditions, during scorching temperatures while wearing at least 45 pounds of gear. And it's no surprise that sometimes firefighters need to be hospitalized for heat exhaustion while on the job. But that's where a group of North Bay students come in, and as our Brian Hackney shows us, they came up with an invention that could help firefighters feel a lot more comfortable.
These are the problem-solving whiz kids of Calistoga High. But which problem to solve? Heather Brooks, their teacher, explains.
We want them to form a bond in the community. We want them to start inventing for things that matter.
So how did all this start?
We went out and interviewed our community, mostly organizations.
And every single group said they were very, very hot on their job, especially if they're outside.
That group included ag workers outside in the hot sun. And Robert Allen inside his Marin Art Gallery?
I run the art gallery, but there's something else that I do. I'm the assistant chief of the Muir Beach Volunteer Fire Department. Dehydration and heat exhaustion are big issues for firefighters.
And you want to keep them cool.
We do. We want to keep them cool while they're fighting fires.
The kids well remember the massive Tubbs fire of 2017.
There were alerts at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. that we had to leave. There was a huge fireball just a field over, and it was really scary.
Because of all the wildfires we've had in this area, we just picked the firefighters because we cared about them.
And also our agriculture workers because they were mostly our parents.
90% of the students here are Latino, so with Alexa Navarrete as lead scientist.
And I'm an administrator.
And I am the CEO.
And I am the lead inventor.
They designed a kind of cooling smartware, experimenting, finessing, rejecting ideas.
I do have to do that sometimes.
Until their device actually did keep a firefighter cool in a hot sauna. So what is the breakthrough device? If we showed you, we'd have to kill you.
This idea is top secret.
Yes.
We're hoping to be patent pending by June. And we don't have it protected by the Patent Bureau yet, so anybody could come in and copy it, and we lose our ability to claim that it's our device then.
Instead, the class is flying to MIT as one of 8 finalists in a national competition, raising money for the trip.
We have around $175,000 raised. Our goal is $200,000.
The real payoff is that this prototype actually works.
Well, I was just really shocked. I was really surprised, and I was really happy with the results. I feel like it was a huge win.
And so does this firefighter.
I think it's an amazing thing that these young people have taken on a challenge of this type, and congratulations to them.
As for Mrs. Brooks,
we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Ms. Brooks.
Ms. Brooks is a 10 teacher.
She has sacrificed so much for us, and we can make a difference. And I just greatly appreciate her, and I thank you, Ms. Brooks, for everything you've done for us. Welcome.
Just really, wow. What a great project. What great students. What a great teacher.
Brian also tells us that the students who put together the project got a chance to fly out to MIT to present their work before their graduation ceremony. Well, as we celebrate Pride Month, we want to introduce you to journalist Randy Schultz, who covered the AIDS crisis and the disease that eventually took his life. Schultz was the first openly gay reporter at the San Francisco Chronicle. Although a pioneer working on the AIDS crisis, his reporting didn't come without controversy from the community he worked hard to back up.
Randy started doing stories that were advocating closing the gay bathhouses and sex clubs. And people in the gay community were calling him a traitor in print. In the gay newspapers. And eventually the health department did close the bathhouses. It was a tool they used. Did it save people's lives? Probably.
You can watch the full story tonight at 5 right here on CBS News Bay Area, and all of our Pride Month stories are on the Pride section of our website at kpix.com. Coming up, she's one of the biggest rising stars in Latin music, who's also a Bay Area native. See who's kicking off this year's SF Jazz Fest.
I would like to see the headlines that the national press picks up on and say, look, there's another side to the Bay Area.
We take those headlines a little step further to sort of connect all these wonderful communities here.
The Bay Area is full of some amazing, innovative change makers, some people who are not giving up. They're going forward.
In fact, I feel privileged that I get to share those stories.
Wake up with the Morning Edition, weekdays on KPIX.
A heat advisory is in effect until Thursday, and we all know the reason why. Our daytime highs today are hitting the 90s and triple digits once again all throughout our inland East Bay, up into the North Bay, and for our friends in the Solano County area, we're under a heat warning until Thursday. That's grouped with the Sacramento Valley with some of the warmest temperatures we've seen so far this year. Now, as we head over to our virtual reality map, look at the contrast of these temperatures. We're still holding on tight to 70s and 60s, anywhere from Half Moon Bay all the way over into San Francisco, but that's not the case as we head off into the East Bay. Triple digits expected for us this afternoon near Concord, Antioch, stretching all the way down into Livermore too, with 90s this afternoon near the Santa Clara Valley. Now, we talk about these numbers because it's important to remind yourself and your loved ones to drink lots of water and wear plenty of sunscreen on a day like today, especially if we have loved ones who work outside. It is going to be a hot day for us today. If you do work outside, find that shady spot, especially in the afternoon hours while those UV rays are at their strongest. Now, we're sitting in the triple digits today for many of us off into the East Bay, but look at tomorrow. All the way down into the 80s, right around the corner, and we hold on tight to the 80s as we head into next week with partly cloudy skies in the forecast as early as Monday.
As summer starts to kick off in the Bay Area, lots of festivals will be taking place along the way. San Francisco's annual Jazz Festival is kicking off today with one of the biggest rising stars in Latin music. La Doña will be taking the stage tonight, opening the festival's 41st celebration, which runs through June 16th. She's a woman of many talents with roots that are running deep right here in the Bay Area. Gianna Franco shares her story.
Cecilia Cassandra Peña Govea, but you might know her as La Doña. She's a singer, composer, and teacher with roots that run deep right here in the Bay Area. Born in Bernal Heights and growing up as part of the mission's diverse Latinx community.
It's a really special place to my heart because it's where I really had formed my basis for cultural knowledge and practice, and it's also where I've been most active and been able to collaborate and really engage with the community in a meaningful and relevant way.
La Doña believes strongly in inclusivity and diversity, which is reflected in her music and voice.
I think that my being a young woman of color really was what prompted me to come into the industry and start my own project, just because I wasn't seeing a lot of the representation of our stories and our existence and our narratives. And so to be able to kind of carve out that space and bring in, queer culture and bring in activist culture and all of these different things that make up my life has been a privilege.
Her sound influenced by music from different Latin American regions.
Having access to and a knowledge of so many different cultural practices is what makes me comfortable and excited to play music.
Weaving together bilingual lyrics, reggaeton, beats, cumbias, and of course, regional Mexican music.
I grew up playing with my family band La Familia Peña Govea.
Where it all started with her family when she was just 7 years old.
It's very interesting, to have such a focus at such a young age.
Cecilia is proud to share her love of culture and music all over, but especially with her family and Bay Area community, which she did recently as one of the featured artists at Outside Lands.
Just such a homecoming moment, right? Just to be able to play one of the biggest festivals in the country on my home turf with all of my people, all of my community.
And taking that sound from the stage to the studio with a live recording at San Francisco's Different Fur Studios in the heart of the mission.
Was right up here in the center, and when we were rehearsing I was facing the band. That's my favorite part, when I have like 13 beautiful faces looking at me.
And from the studio to the classroom.
To have music that they can connect to through their lineage and their family history it's very special. It's very unique.
Where she pays it forward to the next generation, hoping they feel the joy and pride of their culture through music.
Well, when Cecilia isn't performing as La Doña, she's a music teacher at a local public school. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and a look at your top stories.